Good morning. It's Erica of AriBo Arts, and we're here for some Battmaking. Wearing one of my Oktoberfest t-shirts today. I still have my pajama pants on. It's that kind of day. I spent most of yesterday at the dye lab, and so I'm a little tired. The first day when I'm in the dye lab is not as exhausting because I'm in the just like sprinkling, preparing stuff and sprinkling stuff. Sorry, heard a noise on the roof. But the second day is the washing, and there's a lot of squeezing and that kind of stuff. So my arms are a little feeling the workout. Okay, so I was gonna quickly, before we get started on today's bat, I just wanted to do a quick run over something stuck there. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, so today we're mainly going purple. Yay! Sort of purpley, magenta-y, something or other. So I've got, this is labeled as Orchid. It's merino top. But I'm going to do little dabs of this Luster Long Wool from the Rose Field. This color is called Purple Majesty. And then I found, because I found this bag, because you notice like there's no big pile of plastic right there. So I've been working on organizing things. And actually like all my yarn tubs are out in the hallway where I'm been reorganizing. Today they will be relabeled and brought back in. Because my neighbors are coming home tomorrow. And I've been sort of moving stuff around. I found this bag, and I have been looking for the moon jelly colored bamboo for a very long time. Now I know where it was. Okay. I've got some mixed purple locks from Compass Moon Creations. It just says purple fiber locks. I think there's mohair and wool. And then I'm going to pick up the green from the Luster Long Wool with this bio nylon, which is called Garden. So it's going to be very spring-like bat. Okay, so we're going to put the top in. It was just sort of a random piece that was around. I'll grab the rest. I'm not feeling like any sparkly stuff today. I don't think I want any sparkly stuff. Yes, this morning so I overslept this morning because I was tired from having been in the dye lab. Also because when I was in the dye lab, I often have a mug of tea. Like, I'm not allowed food in the dye lab or drink, but right outside the dye lab, there's this ledge, and I keep my mug there. And I was drinking tea a bit later than I normally would. And so it took a long time to fall asleep last night, so I overslept this morning. And then we had excitement. There's a plaza, there's a landscape plaza behind my building, which is actually out my front windows. And the Heloise has been sitting on the windowsill because it's right over the radiator, because that's warm and she likes that. Okay, I think I'm just going to clip this, get this off. And I'm like glancing at her, and then I sort of glance over her shoulder, and I'm like, what? There's something on the ground across the way, because it's sort of the topography sort of is sort of down, goes up, down, and then up again. And on that last up bit, I'm like, what is that? So I got my camera and took a photo and then blew a photo up. And I'm like, oh, it's a hawk. And it was just sort of like sitting there. And I'm thinking, okay, is it injured? It looked like there was a broken branch near it, which I later figured out was the tree in front of it. So it wasn't actually there. And put this down. There we go. I always forget to do that. So this is the Luster Long Wool. It's not nearly as cuddly as the merino. So we're just going to use like little bits of it. In fact, I might even not use that whole thing. We'll see. Anyway, so I look, and there's this hawk. And it's just like lying there. And I think I'm going to use this one too. I like that. 2 purples. Better than 1 purple. And now we're going to add a third purple in the bamboo. So it's just sort of sitting there. So I'm thinking, well, is it hurt? Did it like crash into the building on the other side there? So I go and find my binoculars. And by that point, because it mainly had been just sort of like there like a lump in its head sort of moving. And just like side to side, not like doing anything else. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And then by the time I get my binoculars and come back, it had stood up, and then I realized it was eating, and so tearing shreds out of whatever it had caught. So I took a photo and I posted it on Facebook. And then as I'm making my breakfast, I'm like looking out another window in a different direction. I see one of my friends who's walking his dog. And I should have remembered that when he walks his dog, he comes across and then he goes into the plaza. And so they start going to the plaza. I'm thinking he's going to scare that hawk away. And it did. It got very, well, the dog, I don't think my friend noticed the hawk. The dog did. The dog sort of stopped and then kept going. And then the hawk saw them and just sort of, took off. And I couldn't figure out what it was eating, but it took its breakfast with it because it was something hanging from its feet. So I then went on back on Facebook and said, hey, guess what? You scared the hawk away. Okay, so when I put locks in, there's a number of different ways you can place them. Sometimes if they're small, I might do that. So you can just go like that. The TPI on Sebastian here is 120. So the locks aren't going to maintain their curliness. Right? They get pulled out. So you can do that. You can also put them in doing a fiber sandwich. The way you would put, say, Angelina in. And you can also sometimes I just lay them out on the feed tray. These are a little shorter and kind of clumpy, and so the feed tray is not going to be as effective, I think. So I'm just going to do placement on them. And there's not going to be a lot. Okay, now we can just add layers. So I think I will quickly push this down. And I think this is all the orchid I have left, so I don't think I'm going to be able to make multiples of this one. But it was nice to see a little wildlife this morning. Occasionally we get pigeons and crows. Hawks I'm right next to the river. In fact, I once had what I think was a juvenile eagle, like a teenager, right? Not a baby, a teenager, had landed on sort of the edge of the building that overlooks the river. So they had like prime roosting spot to see what's down there. And I would occasionally, but I didn't know that's what it was. I just occasionally, like looking out my window, the wildlife was acting really weird. And so occasionally I would see something like in the far corner. And I finally went outside and looked up and I'm like, oh my God, that thing is huge. It's huge. I buried my trash can. That's not good. A lot of green on this particular pass. I will be doing a demo next Wednesday, which is Christmas, but I gotta be making bats, so might as well turn the camera on and make one. I am traveling for most of January, and so I will not. There's a piece down here. Let's use this. I'll be doing the demo on New Year's Day. Sorry, Sebastian's a little squeaky still. And then that will be my last demo until February. My big thing now is figuring out what knitting. I decided I'm not gonna bother trying to bring a spindle. It'd be kind of cool, but I don't spindle spin a lot anymore, and I think knitting would be more productive. So I just have to figure out what knitting I'm going to bring with me. And also what goes on the plane and what doesn't, right? My socks that I'm working on, I'm still only on the first one. I'm at the toe, but I just keep getting distracted by other things. Anyways, those are on metal needles, and so I don't know if and they're like 8 inches, so I don't know if I'm allowed to bring those on the plane. I'd have to put them in my check luggage, which I could do. I mean, part of the trip over, I'm just hoping to sleep because it's an overnight flight. I gotta have something to do with my hands, and when I'm hanging out and listening to lectures. And I've also discovered that all of them, all of the ports we're calling in have yarn shops. So that will be one of my things, to visit all the yarn shops, even if I don't buy anything in them. Unfortunately, one of the places we're calling at is Amsterdam, but the port is actually it's not in Amsterdam, it's out somewhere. And so I don't know what accessibility to the city is, because I could go to like Stephen and Penelope's, Stephen West's yarn shop. That would be really cool, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to manage that. I need to figure out what transportation is available. Also, from readings of current events, it's pretty clear that Amsterdam is not happy with cruise ships. So, I am taking a canal cruise. All right, I love all those different purples. Green. But I will be back in time for the January waffle sale. In fact, I'm making bats for that now, so that, I have things for when the sale happens. And then right after that, I have my first in-person show of 2025, which is actually going to be a bit of an adventure because it's a 2-day drive. I was like, I can't wait until March for in-person shows. When being a fiber artist is the only thing you do and you don't yet have a website, The in-person shows are crucial. And winter, particularly in the upper Midwest, is not time to have fiber festivals. So we're just going to pull that over here. The merino top is pretty long, so it's pretty easy just to grab the parts that stick to the wicker in. What am I doing here? Now, merino top is always deceptive. You're like, oh, there's not a lot on here, because it's all the fiber is aligned, and so you don't get all that crimp with the air and stuff in there. So you're like, oh my god, there's hardly any on here, and then you take it off and you weigh it, and it's like 3 ounces, which for a bat on a drum carder this size is large. I know 3 ounces doesn't sound like much, but it is actually a significant amount. This could be our last layer. I forget if I have enough here. I might be able to make a small second bat. Other thing I'm doing is looking up fun egg salad sandwich recipes, because my guild has its meeting on Saturday, and one of the things we're doing is our Christmas or holiday potluck. Okay? And usually what happens is everybody brings like banana bread, okay? Or lots of sweets. Okay? And I was like, I want to bring something savory. In the past I've made quiche, but I'm not up to really baking quiche. And I actually haven't made quiche in a number of years. But sometimes I've missed the meeting because I've had a show. But I'm trying to decide if I want a little more bamboo on there. Let's put a little bit more. Anyway, so I've decided I'm going to make egg salad sandwiches. Because, our meeting is like at 9 in the morning. So it would be like a breakfast item, right? Probably on whole wheat toast, whole wheat bread, because I don't do white bread. And then, but I really wanted to make egg and cress. I love those when I go to the UK. But do you know how hard it is to get cress around here? I live in rural Iowa. Unless you're growing it yourself. So I'm trying to decide, do I want to put scallions in? Not celery. I don't like crunchy things in my egg salad. It's like when people put crunchy things in potato salad. It's like, no, mixing of the textures is not good. Mixing of the textures here, good. In the food, not so much. And so I'm trying to decide, what. Ooh, I think this one might be mohair. But then I was thinking, I've got this cooked chopped bacon. Put bacon in the egg salad. It'd be like breakfast sandwiches. Anybody have a thought on that? So that's what I'm thinking of doing. It's like Hormel or something like that. Because just, egg, mayo, salt. I don't put pepper in because I personally have a bad reaction to pepper, so I don't put pepper in mine. Let's go that other way, I think. It's a little cotted. Sometimes when the tops get cotted, which means felted, it can make it hard to pull it off. So we're just going to place those there, and then we can press them down immediately. Like that. Put one over here. See if there's anywhere. Nice empty spot right there. And let's see if we can find a home for this last one. I'm just sort of looking to see where most of the locks are. There's sort of a void right there. Okay, that is done. Okay, there we go. I'm happy with that. If you have name suggestions, put it in the comments. I'll also take guesses at the weight. It's always deceptive with merino top. So we're breaking the bat now using the doffer stick on the doffer crease. I'm going to press this back in here. I may lose one or two of these locks when I pass it back by the liquor in. We will see what happens. Press that in. Actually, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to hold this edge right here and try, and that's not going to work. Okay, we may lose some of those locks as we're pulling this off. Okay, and then we start rolling it off. Got a couple teeth out of alignment. I'm going to use the knitting needle for that to loosen up that fiber. So if you're watching this after the fact, you can still comment. I will get a notification. I can respond to any questions or comments that you have. Okay, so I didn't lose any of the locks, so that was good. Look how pretty this is. Isn't that nice? Okay, so I'm going to actually weigh it. I'm not going to do the fluff and fold right now. Some of those locks on the top are very loose. I'm just going to roll it like this. Get the scale out. Tear it out. Yeah, it's actually not very big. Okay. It is 2.05 ounces. And what I will do in a second, I want to see how much is left. I want to write this down before I forget. Is I'm going to take what's left here and weigh it to see, because I think I could maybe do a mini bat. Oh, that's 1 ounce. Okay, yeah. So I could do like a mini bat of it. It'll weigh a bit more with the locks and the bamboo and everything else in it. So, yeah. So that is today's bat. I'll think of a fun name for it. Take photos of it in a little bit after I've sort of done the fold and roll and everything. I got too much clutter here to do it right now. Yeah, but I'll post pictures up in the group. Okay. So tomorrow night, if you're interested, is the Zoom spin along. Link is in the event subscription. I'll be doing it this week, next week, that first week in January, and then Lizette Hopkins will be subbing in for that. For me, Ellen Zawada from Zephyr Creek Farm will be doing the sweater support group in January. So thank you to all of them for taking over my admin duties while I'm sailing the high seas. So you all take care. and I will see you around on Facebook.